This is Nick with logosbynick.com, and in this tutorial I'll be demonstrating how you can create isometric designs in Affinity Designer by setting up an isometric grid. But before we get started, if you'd like to sharpen your logo design skills, be sure to check out my Logo Design Academy. It's an 18-part video course where I outline my entire creative process for coming up with logo ideas and implementing them. I'll have a link in the description of the video if you want to check that out. So to get us started here in Affinity Designer, I've opened up a new document. I've sized it at 1280 by 1280 pixels. The first thing we want to do is set up our isometric grid. So to do that, I'm going to come up here to where it says View, and I'm going to look for Grid and Axis Manager. And I'm going to come over here and click on Advanced. Let me bring this up a little bit. Let's click on this box that says Show Grid. And where it says Grid Type, I'm going to choose Isometric. And where it says Spacing for this tutorial, I'm just going to use 25. Now we can go ahead and close out of that. And as you can see, we have an isometric grid set up there. Now what I want to do is enable snapping. I think snapping to the grid should be enabled by default, but just to make sure, come up here to where this magnet icon is and click this little drop down. And where it says snap to grid, you want to make sure you have that enabled. So to get started, I'm just going to zoom in on this document a little bit. I'm going to hold Control and roll up the mouse wheel a couple of times. I'm going to grab the pen tool, which is over here, or you can just press P on the keyboard. And I'm going to start over here to the left side. I'm going to snap to an intersection right there, two intersecting grid lines. Click, and then hold Shift and bring this line straight through. Now I'm going to bring this a number of segments away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 segments away. If you notice in the guideline there, there's the number 300 populating between that. That's just a measurement to tell you how many pixels away the lines are. So I'm going to use 300 for this side. I'm going to go ahead and click. Then I'm going to hold Shift again, bring this out this way. I want to make this the same distance going this way. I'm going to use 300 again. We don't have to actually count these boxes now that we know what the number measurement is. So I'm going to bring it out until it says 300. There we go. Now let me bring the line coming up this way. And you'll notice once you've reached the part of the grid where it's directly above this middle line right here, a little guideline will highlight going through the 2 points there vertically, which is what we're looking for. So we'll go ahead and click that. And then finally just bring this back to the starting point, and you should end up with this nice little diamond shape right there. So let me deselect the shape. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let me deselect it by pressing Escape on the keyboard a couple of times. I want to create two inner shapes right here. What we're designing first is we're designing the roof of this little building that I showed you in the beginning of the video. So let me start at this center point. Click, zoom in a little bit. Go down here 1 point, over here to this side, into the corner, and back to the starting point like that. And we have a little shape going in there. And if you want to move the page around, you can just press down the mouse wheel and move the mouse. Or if you don't have a mouse wheel, you can press down the space bar and click and drag. So let me come over here and create another point. Another point over here, back to this corner, up to the top corner, and then back to the starting point. Basically, we're creating the same shape, only going the other way. And now I'm going to create a shape going around the outside of the entire shape here. So let me click on that out here. 1 unit larger. We're pretty much drawing the same shape, only 1 unit larger than the original shape. And I just want to make sure I have that lowered to the bottom. So let me grab the Select tool. And to do that, to lower it to the bottom, I'm going to hold Control, Shift, and press the left bracket key. And that's going to send that to the back over there, as you can see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the pen tool again. Let me click off of that to deselect everything. Press P on the keyboard to get the pen tool. Now I'm going to create a shape over here on this right side. So let me snap to this point right here. Go down one unit, down over here, back up to this corner, and then back to the starting point. So we end up with that shape right there. I'm going to do the same thing over here, same shape on this side. Or if you want, you could just duplicate it and rotate it and snap it around. I find it quicker to just manually draw these little 4-point shapes. Okay, so now we have that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the walls of this building right here. So let me press Escape a couple of times to deselect everything. I'm going to draw the right side wall first, but I want to start it out. I don't want to start it out right here. I want to start it out right here because I want the roof to stick out from the building a little bit. So let me start right here, 1 unit in, click, hold Shift to bring it straight down, and I'm going to bring it down to maybe about here. Still holding Shift, bring this down until you get that vertical line that indicates it's lined up with the center of the center node there for the roof. All the way up here, and then back to the starting point. And again, we're going to draw the same shape, only going this way. So let me press Escape a couple of times. Up here, up here. If you notice, this is a little off axis, so that's all right. I'm going to fix that in a second. Back to the starting point. To fix that, we're just going to go to the nodes tool, which is over here. And I'm just going to take this and just move this in so it's lined up. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we have the roof and we have the walls. Now what I want to do is draw a little bit of a shadow right here. I'm going to draw a little bit of a shadow right here and a shadow right here. I think before we do that, we should start coloring this in. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to try to decipher what it is that we're drawing. So let me grab the select tool. Let me take this roof object right here, and I'm going to make this a medium shade of red. If you want, over here in the color tab, I personally don't like working with color wheels. I prefer to click this little menu down here and go to boxes. I find it easier to work with this color setup, but you can work with whatever color setup you'd like. I'm going to make this a medium shade of red, something like that. And I'll select this object right here. I'm going to make this a dark shade of red, something like that. I'm going to take this object and make that a light shade of red. There we go. And I'm going to take this center object right here, and I'm going to make this, this is not going to be red at all. This is going to be a dark gray. I'm going to take this object over here. I'm going to make this the same darker shade of red that I used for this. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to select that. I'm going to grab the dropper tool, which is over here, or I like to just press I on the keyboard, and then grab a selection of that to make that the same color. And then go back to the select tool by pressing V, select that object. Oops, no, this object right here. And we're going to make this the same shade that this lighter shade of red is. So let me press I on the keyboard to get back to the dropper tool. And there we go. Okay, so now we can deselect that. I'm going to color in these walls a little bit. I'm going to take this wall over here to the left, and I'm going to make this a lighter shade of gray. Maybe something that's a little darker than white so that it's still noticeable up against this background. And I'll take this wall over here and make this a darker shade of gray like that. Maybe something like that right there. And what I want to do now is just get rid of the stroke from all of these objects. So let me click and drag over all of them. And over here, click on this little black circle to activate the stroke, and then just click that red slash to get rid of the stroke from all of those objects. And then we can activate the fill color again. Now we can click off of that. So what I want to do now is I want to create a little bit of shading coming off of these objects here. I'm going to create a little shadow going in here. I'm going to grab the pen tool, press P. I'm going to make this shadow right in here 1 unit in width. So I'm going to start right here, bring that up 1 unit through here, and then back through there like that. And I'm going to fill this in with a dark shade of gray, maybe even black. Yeah, I'll probably have to go with black for that. And then over here, I'll do the same thing. I'm going to create another shadow over here. I'm going to make this a darker shade of gray. Looking pretty good. And now what I want to do is I'm going to, let me deselect everything, pressing escape a couple of times. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a border going at the bottom of the building here. So I'm going to work on this side first, and then I'm going to come over here and work on this side. So let me create a 1 unit height border going through here like that. And I want to make this the darker shade of red. So let me press I on the keyboard to get the dropper, make that same darker shade. Now we can go back to the pen tool, press P on the keyboard. Now I'm going to create some windows for the side of this building. So I'm going to start over here, 1 unit in, come all the way over here, 1 unit away from the edge, down. You could hold shift while doing this to make it easier, and then back to the starting point, like that. And I want to make this a shade of blue because this is meant to be glass or a window. So I'm going to make it look like it's reflecting a blue sky. So let me make this blue, lighter shade like that. There we go. That's looking good. Now I want to divide this window in half. So what I'm going to do is let me deselect everything. I'm going to create a center object going right through the center here. I'm going to create a 1 unit width object going through the center here. So let me start right about here. Bring this down. Not to the bottom one, but 1 step above the bottom one. And then over here, like that. And then bring this one all the way up. And then back to the starting point. And I'm going to fill this in with a darker shade of gray. So let me make this darker gray like that. And I'm going to create other shapes going in here like this. You'll see where I'm going with this once it's done. It's meant to make it look kind of 3-dimensional. So let me deselect that again. We're just pressing escape on the keyboard to do that. Make this shape in here like that. And I'm going to make this white. And there you go. You can see what I mean there. So let me go and do the same thing over here on this side. Actually, you know what? I want to create another lip right here in the same color. So let me click right here, hold shift, bring it straight down, 1 unit above the edge, right here, and back to the starting point. And I want to make this the same shade of gray. So let me press I on the keyboard, and there we go. So let's press P now to get back to the pen tool, deselect, and create another object going through here like this. And I'll make that white. Okay, so it's looking like the right side of our little storefront here is finished. Now I'm going to work on the left side. The left side is going to be a little trickier because we're going to install a little door in the front here. So to do that, let me deselect everything. Let me come about 2 units in from this side right here, but down here like this, 1 unit below the edge. Hold shift, bring this straight up to about here. Still holding shift, bring this out to about here, down to there, and back to the starting point. That's going to represent our door. And I made this 1 unit longer than the other unit because what I want to do now is grab the select tool, hold shift, click on this object so we have them both selected, and up here, click this button that says subtract. And we've created a hole in that side of that building there that's going to represent a door. So let me deselect that. Let me grab the pen tool, press P on the keyboard. I'm going to create a little shape going in here like this. I'm going to start at the corner, come up to the right 1 unit like this, hold shift, go all the way to the top, back over to here, back to the starting point, and we're going to make this dark gray. A darker shade of gray than this is right here. Now let me deselect that. Let me press escape on the keyboard a couple of times to deselect that. And now I want to create the actual door in here. The door is going to be the same color of glass that this window is, only we're going to start the door right here at this corner. Bring it to this corner, up here, over here, back to the starting point. And again, we're going to grab our dropper tool or just press I on the keyboard and make that the same color like that. And now what I want to do is add a border going along the bottom of this side of the building, just like I did over here. So let me actually need the pen tool for that. Press P on the keyboard to get the pen tool. Create a shape right here to represent this border. This border is going to be the same. It's going to be the same color as the medium shade of red here. So let me press I, grab that sample selection right there. As you can see, we're going with a lighter shade than this side. Let me go back to the pen tool, deselect. I'm going to create another shape going along the bottom of this door here. Back to the starting point, and I'm going to make this the darker shade of red. So again, dropper tool, grab that selection. There we go. Create another shape right in here. Let me deselect. Make this. You know what? We'll have to make this one the darker shade. We'll make this one the darker shade. Let me go back to the select tool. Press V to get the select tool or just click on it over here. I'll make this one the lighter shade of red. So I'll grab the dropper. There we go. That's the correct way to do it. And now we just got to make the border going over here. So let me press P to get the pen tool. If you're confused by these keyboard shortcuts, you can just use these navigation icons over here. Make this border going along the bottom. And this is going to match this color right here. So let me press I to get the dropper. And there we go. Now let's zoom out a little bit, see what we're working with. Click off of the object to deselect everything. We're coming along pretty nicely. What we have to do now is create another window going right here, and then we're going to create a sign and an awning going over the building. So let's do the window first. I'm going to grab the pen tool again. I'm going to start this window 1 unit in from the edges of the wall and the door. So right about here, I'm going to bring this up. Hold shift, bring this up about 1 unit from the top, or maybe 2, maybe 3 actually. Bring this over here, bring this down here, and then back to the starting point. Okay, make this blue, grab the dropper, back to the select tool, actually no, rather the pen. Let me deselect everything. I'm going to create an object going inside right here. Let me make sure. I don't think there we go. You got to make sure that you actually snap to the grid line. See, the pen, with the snapping enabled, the pen tool is supposed to snap to the grid line, but there I accidentally missed it. So just one thing to be mindful of. Hold shift, bring this straight down like that. Back up here to the starting point. There we go. And for this one, I want to make this the same shade of gray that this is right here. So let me press I to get the dropper. There we go. Back to the pen tool. Deselect, create another shape going in here, and this one is going to be white. So I'll make this white. There we go. We deselect everything. And I actually might want to take this wall, actually. Let me press the select. Let me get the select tool. I might want to take this wall and make this slightly darker. Yeah, that's looking a little better because you can't really see the inside of that window sill there. So I'm actually going to make these darker to accommodate that. You can adjust your colors as you'd like. I'm just doing this on the fly. Just eyeballing it to make it look what I think looks about right. I'm going to make this the same color. Okay, so we have the structure, we have the building set. What I'm going to do now is create a little awning going over the front of the building here. You know what? First, I'm going to create a sign going on top of the building. So let me grab the pen tool. I'm going to start this shape 1 unit in from the roof right here and on this edge right here. Click to create a point there, hold shift, bring this line out here to this side, and then we're going to go straight up. Hold shift for 3 units or 3 units. Hold shift, bring it straight down until it intersects with this original point, going straight down like that. Back to the starting point. There we go. And this shape is going to be the light shade of red. So let's grab the dropper. There we go. Back to the pen tool. We're going to make this thing 3-dimensional. So let me start right here. Go up to the right 1 unit. Hold shift up here, down there. Back to the starting point so we have a shape like that. I'm going to make this the dark shade of red. So let me grab the dropper. There we go. Back to the pen tool, deselect, and I'm going to create another shape going in here. Back to the starting point. And this one will be the medium shade of red. There we go. So there's the sign on top of the building. The final thing would be to just create a little awning going over the front here. So to do that, let me grab the pen tool again, press P on the keyboard, start at this bottom corner of the roof right here. And instead of going in accordance with the isometric grid lines, I'm going to go slightly against it. Maybe down to about here. And then I'll go up 1 unit over here and then back up here 1 unit away from the starting point and then back to the starting point like that. And that's what we're looking for, something like that right there. And I'm going to make this the lighter shade of red. So let's grab the dropper. There we go. Back to the pen tool, deselect, and I'm going to create a shape going straight down from this like that. And this one is going to be the medium shade of red. So we'll fill that in. There we go. Now what I want to do is take this with the select tool, hold shift, click both objects, and I want to duplicate them. So to duplicate them, I'm going to hold Alt and then just click and drag to create duplicates. And then you can let go of Alt and just snap that in there like that. And I want to make this one a different color. I'm going to make this one the medium shade of red. Back to the select tool, take this one and make this one the darker shade of red. And there we go. Now what I want to do now is take these 4 objects and just duplicate them and place them along the front of the storefront here. So let me select each of those by holding shift and clicking on them. We're doing this with the select tool. Hold Alt, click and drag, snap it in there. Hold Alt, click and drag, snap it in there. And we're just going to keep doing that until we reach the end. Looks like 1 more will do it. There we go. Okay, so what we want to do now is create a shape going in here to close this off. So to do that, I'm going to grab the pen tool, start right here, come up to the corner right there, up to this corner, down here, back to the starting point, and make this the dark shade of red. And there we go. And one final step would be to we can add a little bit of a shadow going underneath the awning here. So to do that, I'll grab the pen tool, start this shape right here, bring it through here, and then through here, all the way across like that, up 1 unit, all the way back over here, and then back to the starting point, like that. And I'm going to make this black, make that all the way black, and then over here where it says opacity, bring the opacity down a little bit like that. That's what we're looking for right there. So let me grab the select tool. Looks like we're done. I think I got everything. One little thing, I would add a little shadow piece right here. So let me grab the pen tool again. We put a little shadow right here. I'll make this black. Bring the opacity of that up. Zoom out. And it's looking pretty good. I mean, once you're done, you can come over here to where it says View. And where it says Show Grid, you can just turn that off. And now you can see we are finished. We have created our little isometric vector storefront icon using Affinity Designer. So I think that should do it for this tutorial. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. And as always, thanks for watching.